So, hello everyone. Today we are in our second episode of How We Grow at Kai, and today is will gonna be a bit different because I'm gonna talk and I'm gonna ask some question to Jim, and yeah, we will have different topics today, two main topics. But first of all, I will let you, Jim, introduce yourself. Let us know what you do at Kai and what you did before.
Sure. So I'm Jim. I guess I'm head of growth at Kai, even though that hasn't been officially confirmed. Let's just say that I'm head of growth at Morgan, which is the our primary product, and we started building Kai around 3 months ago. And so yeah, at Kai I do everything related to growing the product, making sure we get users when we launch, as well as everything related to product-led expansion, so team dynamics, pricing. So yeah, a lot of growth-related stuff. And so I work closely with Lambert on that as we discussed last time. A little bit about me. I guess I have a background in marketing. I've spent the last 5 years doing marketing in startups, from scale ups of up to 100 people to very early stage startups, like as early stage as Kai. Before that, I had launched my own startup back in 2020. It was an AI startup, and so we raised some funding and grew the product to 100K ARR. And yeah, there I was CEO of a team of five. So I don't know if you can see CEO, but I guess I was doing everything business related, and the rest of the team was tech related. And that was really my first time in business, but also first time experimenting with technology, with SaaS, startups, and so on. And before that, I was doing something completely different. I was an aerospace engineer, so I studied astronautics in Southampton in the UK. And yeah, I loved what I did there, but it's just like after my studies, I was like, yeah, this is great, but it's not where I want to spend the next 40 years. So I that's when I pivoted to startups. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Other than that, I'm out of Belgium. I'm from Brussels, and I live here in Lisbon, in Portugal.
Nice, nice. Belgium, lovely country. But a bit there is not the same sun than Lisbon,
No,
definitely.
that's why I moved. It's the sun.
Nice. So thanks for this introduction. So today we will talk about two different topics that Jim know about and work a lot about it. So let's start with the first one. Quick context. I joined, as I said last time, Kai in end of 2025, and so we had like a project manager tool called Notion, as everyone knows probably, where we manage the task with the team. Pretty good, pretty good. I mean, we was managing everything and was working. And in February 2026, Jim come and say like, let's use Linear. That's the tool we was using at WooClub, so it was pretty good. I mean, Linear is a bit different, but for the project management is way better. So yeah, that was the two tool we was using. And one day, Jim wake up a morning and told us to the team, guys, I have an idea. Tonight, I dream about to build our own project management tool. And he come with it 1 week later, and we start to using it. It was a bit weird at some point, the first moment, but at the end, now today, since I think like 3 months, we're using it, and the results are pretty good. So basically, I will let you, Jim, describe the idea, the tool, and why you deep dive on it. But we left every different tool, and we build it this project management tool using Claude, our knowledge base, and GitHub. And yeah, this is amazing. So yeah, I will let you the mic describe a bit more about it. And first of all, let us also know where come from this idea and what's yeah, probably you find some painful point regarding linear and Notion and yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I think we were 6 weeks into trying linear, and I told the team, like, guys, you're going to hate me, but we're going to switch tools again. But I guess, yeah, I thought I had a pretty good reason to do it. So just for the context, we didn't build a tool. Like we actually don't have a UI. We don't have a. It's not like an app or a landing page or whatever. It's really like a context layer that we built, and we built like the files around it. But it'll get clearer in a second when I explain. But I guess yeah, the reason why I wanted to change tools there's a few reasons. The first one is we were tracking our tasks in first Notion and then Linear, but everything was there, right? So we would be scoping our tasks in Linear. We would add like the bullet points, the relevant files, the deadlines, and so on. And so all of that context lived in Linear. And I found myself, and it was really also the timing, we were at that time using Claude Code more and more, and we started building our knowledge base, which is like this central piece of information where there's context on our product, our KPIs, our analytics, and so on. And as we were using that knowledge base more and more, I found myself basically just being the bridge between the context of a task that lives in Linear and the executor, which is, in our case, Claude Code. And I was basically spending a lot of time like copy pasting or importing cards from Linear into Claude and telling it, check this context and build it. So that was the first pain point. I was like, why do I have to do this bridge? Why do we put this friction in the middle? The second one was on the weekly updates. So in Linear, we have many different tasks, and then on top of the task, we have bigger projects. And at the time, we were a team of 3, and everyone every Monday was asked to provide updates on the project. So what are the metrics? Is it working? How do we make progress? How do we double down, and so on? And here again, what the team was doing was basically going to Claude Code, prompting the analytics folder and asking to pull data from a project, grabbing context about what was done, write the update, and manually fetch it back into Linear. So again, this kind of like friction between Linear and Claude. When you have a stand-up, so we that's how we run our sprints, right? We have the planning, then we have daily stand-ups throughout the day. I always felt like a bit awkward sometimes because I was like, whoa, I've been super busy the past 24 hours, but then when it's my turn to speak, I'm just like, what the fuck did I do? You know, like where did the time go? Where did I, you know, what did I do? And that really hit me because I was like, now we are in a position where we do all our work in one place. Claude has information on what has been done, the prompts you've written, the code it has shipped. And so all of that was there. And yet we were still like spending 20 minutes every day talking about what we did and so on. And so I was just like, why don't we ask Claude, right? It knows what we did. So let's just Claude tell it. And yeah, I guess like these 3 things together made me want to move how we operate our sprints. And so I essentially just migrated the sprint system into Claude. It's a very simple setup. Like I think anyone can build it in a couple hours. But essentially we have our different sprints. So right now we are at sprint 6, and for each sprints, we have a sprint.md, which is a document that we create every Monday when we create a new sprint. We go through that. We highlight like what are the goals of the sprint, the different tasks for everyone. And this is really our canonical North Star for the sprint, which is what the team has to do. And once you have that document in place, all you need to do is ask Claude every day, hey, what's on my plate? What do I got to do next? And so on, right? And Claude, now that it has context on your task and your goals, can help you prioritize your tasks. And then it can write updates for you. As you treat each task, as you get through it, it writes updates. And I'll show you guys a bit the setup in a moment, but that's really in essence how it is. And then now, basically, Lambert and I, we run our sync asynchronously. We run our sync asynchronously. And we managed to kind of cut these daily stand-ups that we had. So we're saving now 20 minutes a day. And we're using that time to have more strategic conversations around what we should do, what we should prioritize. And yeah, it's been really a game changer because now we've compressed the steps between scoping and executing, and everything is done from the same tool. And yeah, I think the gain in productivity for the team has been really huge since we moved from that system. And the how do you say the capability, the ability of the team to accept that new tool was very easy as well. I think within 10 days, you guys were like, okay, yeah, this is like way better. I think it required way less work from you guys as well in terms of project updates and so on. So all in all, it was a net win for the team, and really the productivity also just rose a lot.
Yes, I agree. I will add also a point. Like when we was using linear, I had the feeling at some point we put some information in our weekly review because we don't have all thing documented and yeah, regarding some little task that we made during the sprint. At some point we didn't put the task on linear and we missed them. And with this new flow, we have everything like documented when we push some things on GitHub, and that this is a very good thing that now we don't miss the whole the any information. So yeah, this is nice, very clear. Do you think we can deep dive a bit more in the skills and the thing like that? I know that you build, so basically Jim built a lot of skills to help us to implement that in our workflow. Because basically every day now, as a Lambert, I am just running a daily skill that fetch all the push that I put on GitHub, and then I have nothing else to do. And I think it's very interesting things to show to people because again, there is a little magic, and also maybe the final one that's the sprint
Yeah,
wrap or.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, that's also one of the so I guess I explained the reasons why we changed, which were all really ticked after we made the switch, and then there was a lot of like nice bonuses, nice to have. And so I'm going to show you guys the setup that we currently use. Lambert, can you confirm you can see cursor?
Yes, perfectly.
Great. Okay, so this is our so this is our knowledge base really. Also, so that's how we set up our work. And I'm now here in the sprints folder. So that one is a repo. It's on GitHub. And I'm going to walk you through, guys, like the current setup. So first of all, we are right now in sprint 6. Our sprints are 2 week long. So I think it's been 3 months. We're actually running this system, and yeah, it's been really great. So sprint 6 starts with, actually, let me, I could open a Claude Code session here to show you guys the different skills and so on. But so, yeah, this is sprint 6. We created it Monday, 10 days ago. And as you can see, this is a very structured document. Every sprint always has the same structure with the team goals, and then the goals we have for the different products we have. So we have 2 products. And then for each goal, we have a set of different tasks. And so the tasks are then prioritized, and we give context to the task. So the same way we were scoping a linear card, now we're scoping the task in plain text. And then all of these little bullet points, they're actually written by Claude as the week and the sprint goes by. These are like updates on the task and everything we've done until a task is completed. I'm going to show you guys how we actually operate and the different skills we have to make that easier. So the first skill we have is a sprint planning skill. And so this one I run when I want to create a new sprint. So let's say it's the first Monday of a new sprint. I'll run sprint planning and I'll start a conversation with Claude on, it's a really strategic conversation, I guess. I tell it, okay, look at what we did the last sprint. If there are some unfinished items and so on, I work with Claude on whether or not those should be included in the new sprint. Then Claude also has access to our growth roadmap, which is like a 3 to 6 month horizon growth roadmap on the objectives we need to have, the different milestones we need to achieve. And Claude has access to that, to the past sprint. And then I also work with it on different tasks, different strategies, different levers that we can include. And so I can actually also show you the what's inside this skill. But essentially, the sprint planning is instructions I give to Claude to help me create this very sprint, right? And so maybe perhaps we'll share the skills in something like the comments or the description, so on, if you guys want to have access to those. But the instructions are very simple, and it's really giving the structure and the format of the folder that needs to be created, and as well as some guidelines to Claude regarding what's a task, what's not a task, what's a goal, how to scope a goal properly, and so on. And so once we have our sprint planned, so you can see here I've run sprint planning and it's already doing quite a lot of heavy lifting for me. And so my job goes from creating the sprint to really just fine-tuning and working with Claude on the strategy to create that sprint. And once that sprint is created, we basically have another skill which is really useful. Is as days go by, Lambert and we run one simple command, which is daily update Jim. And when I run this command, Claude is going to check across all of my projects that are in this knowledge base, every piece of code, every prompt I did, every progress I made regarding tasks. and it's going to match that against the sprint goals and the sprint tasks that we have, and it's going to log updates for me, right? So right now it's checking the project, and it's going to start writing a project update for me. And it's like as specific as it can get, right? And that's also one of the nice to haves that we benefited from the migration is before when we were running our sprint updates in calls through Linear, this is very much up to human interpretation. You know, people say, "Ah, yeah, this task is done," but it's actually not really done. And sometimes, you know, there's some the dependencies that you need to understand so that you can start treating another task and so on. And this whole human context makes it sometimes very hard to manage projects for different people. And now we have like a single source of truth, a nearly an unbiased agent that looks at what you did and updates things for you. And so we run this every day. At this point, I even have an automation on my laptop, so I don't even think about running it. It just runs it at 6 p.m. every day for me. And I guess, yeah, the last benefit or the last bonus we had from this is the coaching that you get from this. Because if you have an agent that checks everything you do and then maps it against tasks, against goals, and is able to tell whether or not you achieve the task, whether or not you achieve the goals, how you prioritize your work, then suddenly you have every ingredient you need to have a very sound report on how you can progress and how you can improve as a person. And so we now create this sprint retrospective, which are extremely spot on for every person of the team. And yeah, it contains a lot of feedback, a lot of coaching. And I can show you maybe an example of what that looks like. If I take one of the older skills, so this one, we decided to make it an HTML file just because it was easier to preview. Let me open that in a separate window. Right, so this is an example of a sprint review. And we can see exactly everything we shipped, the different commits, the contributors, and so on, how we made or not progress depending on the days of the week. Then you have a comparison of goals versus what actually was delivered. So we can see, okay, this one we hit, this one we didn't hit, and so on. And then you have a section per person where we talk about everything that a given person has contributed to, the strength of this person, and the growth area. Right? And so, for example, in my very case here, Sprint 4, it flagged that I was missing the implementation of tests for the features that I built. I'm a growth marketer. Like, I have zero idea on what development is, the best practices of, creating good code. I don't know how to set up a good test. But now I have an agent that checks my code and is like, you actually made quite a few mistakes this week, and those could have been caught by tests. So next time implement tests. And I remember very well this retrospective. I made this a priority for the next sprint to implement tests on everything we ship. And I think now that was also the topic of last podcast. It's everything we have is behind gates, is behind tests, and we make sure we ship good code. And so we have this for every person on the team. So Lambert also has his different growth area. And yeah, it's a really helpful document to keep progressing and to keep managing our work. This is something at the moment that Linear can't do because it doesn't have access to the same level of context that our setup currently has. So yeah, Lambert, do you think we covered it all?
I think yes. I think yeah, it's really impressive. I mean, when we see those skills working together and then the output, it's very impressive. But there is also, let's say, some things that are not working. I will give my personal experience with this flow that we are using. Like for example, I'm working since 2 3 weeks, and it's gonna be probably a next topic for another episode. But we are working a lot of on build in public strategy. Like we are making a lot of videos for social media, for example, Instagram and TikTok also. And that's I didn't push anything on GitHub. So when I'm running the daily updates, I need to add that by my own directly and say had and I have to say to Claude, okay, today by the way I work also on this video. It takes me like 3 4 hours. And for those who are working on video editing, etc., they know that's taking a long time. And also I have to iterate on the video, on the plan, on the edit. So for those kind of things, it's not working. But also another example is if you watch the first episode and you remember, for Morgan, we use a CMS, we use Webflow, and yet if I want to implement something in Webflow in the website, I will need to do it by my hand, and this basically Claude and GitHub will not know about that, so I have to notify this. So at some point, I will need to take, depend of the day. Some day I will just work and push everything, and everything is gonna work, especially if I work on Kai. But at some point, also I will need to take a bit more time on it. And yeah, it's not lose, I will say, because it's very quick. And when we compare the time that I spent before using Linear at the end of the sprint, thinking, watching a bit about what I did, it taking half a day. Now it's like 2 minutes per day, so that's fine. But yeah, and also I don't know if you have any case in your mind, but I do believe this is not gonna work in different company or for different kind of task or project. Do you have any iteration on it or any?
Yeah, it works very well for us. So we tried it with a team of three. Now we're a team of two. It's of course the setup is very simple on our side. We run a lot of different projects, a lot of different tasks, but we're a team of two, right? So it makes it extremely easy to manage. I wonder what would happen if you have a team of 10, and there's definitely some caveats and some things that would need improvement. I do think that it's a very solvable problem, even for bigger teams. But one problem or one, I guess, downside of the current setup is it's text only and there's no UI. And that sometimes makes it difficult to have this, let's take a step back and let's look at how every task is going, which ones are stuck. This is something that you don't have that step back, but again, you can ask Claude and you can ask, okay, now check the past 5 days and tell me if there's anything blocking or if Lambert needs help for something and so on. I can also see what's stuck. But yeah, I guess the UI would be really nice, and it's something that's doable. So you'd have like a dialogic plus UI interface. And something that is not perfect also yet is we're using GitHub. And so the file that I have locally on my computer, the one I showed you, may not be the exact same one that Lambert has on his computer right now. Because so part of the skill is always to pull first and then push. So they're as much as possible in sync. But let's say if I don't run a skill and I just want to check the logs, and Lambert updated his logs in the morning. If I don't pull, I don't see Lambert's updates, right? And so sometimes there's a bit of delay and it's not really real time. And again, I think if like there was a production app on top of this connected to a database with this UI, with synchronization between the different users, I think this would beat the shit out of a linear Notion for really like project management tasks and I guess development workflows and so on. Again, because it is integrated where you work and where you execute your tasks. I think that's all. Yeah, I would recommend this system to most teams though, and then it's something of course that you fine tune depending on the team's workflows and the team culture and so on. But for us, yeah, again, it's been a game changer, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Since now it's an amazing flow that we use, and we are pretty interesting. If any one of you guys using the same kind of flow and system in your AI native company, let us know. Maybe we can compare. Definitely, there is. I mean, we Jim built something like for us in our use case, and every company will have different use case, but it's still very interesting to compare. Just to finish on this topic, question for those people that listening us. Imagine there is like 3, 4 friends that want to start a startup tomorrow with AI native website, tools, etc. What are the things they need to know regarding the project management system and those tools that we build? Do you have any advice, any tips for them?
I mean, I would absolutely do it. Like if especially if you're building your thing from scratch, you can build foundation and you decide the architecture, or of course you can always change, but you have the chance to decide the architecture for the next 5 years. And so start AI native, build your knowledge base, build the different folders, the context and so on, and then build your project management tool within that. because that's the only really scalable and viable solution I found to centralize everything so that in 6 months, when you want to know how's this project doing, your knowledge base already has context on the project. It knows exactly who did what and when. It knows where it needs to pull data because it's connected to your analytics, and it can write reports by itself, right? And then of course you need to create skills for the reports and like what's the structure, what data you care about. But this is all part of the scope cards, right? It's when you do a task, you evaluate the success metrics, what needs to be watched, and where's the source of truth. But yeah, it's absolutely that. I would also recommend to be very specific and very rich in terms of the content, the context that you give when you create a task, because the more context, the better. So why you're doing it, what problem you're solving, the ideal solution, the metrics again, the source of the metrics to check them. Because once you have all that, yeah, you make your life way easier in the future when it needs to be researched. Probably it's something that I haven't implemented yet, but by the time if we continue with the system with for the next 6 months, we'll eventually have a lot of sprints, a lot of tasks between each sprint, and so on. And so I would probably start looking into like a research layer to map semantically different tasks between them, so you can quickly fetch information without burning a million tokens. But I guess that's a problem when you have a bit more updates, a bit more sprints, and so I guess a problem will solve in the future. But for now, it's been still running good as is.
Nice, amazing. Yeah, this first topic was very interesting. I think for people who are listening now, it's that can let some idea for them. So that's nice. Let's now deep dive in another topic, more likely the actual topic. So we're growing day after day on the waitlist, as we talked last episode. We build a system from scratch for the waitlist, and I think like we launched yesterday a Chrome extension on product end, and then we start to have a lot of people on the wait list, probably 80, 90 since the last 24 hours, which is a very good growth. And you, Jim, and David. David is our CEO. Made a decision that very interesting, and a couple of questions around that. But the decision is now we have a product, we have the waitlist, we have some people in the waitlist that are ready to use the product, even if it's not polished, want to see more about it. And the decision that you made is open for a small group the product next Monday. And I mean, for me, I come from I didn't work in startup before from scratch like you. And for me, and I think for people who are listening, it's very interesting to understand why we do that and why now, what's the strategy and what the output we are targeting behind this. So yeah, let me know
Yeah,
a bit more about that.
yeah. So indeed, I think now we are at 1,070 people on the waitlist, and there's different reasons why we start this. I guess some people call it alpha. Probably for us, it's a beta, closed beta. That's a good one. So we let a few people try the product and we follow those people closely to get feedback. The reason why we do that, so of course, feedback, right? This is the first reason we do that. The second reason we do that is because we're not ready. Like, we're not ready to launch publicly. And that's exactly the point. Like, no one should wait to be ready to launch their product. The earlier you can get feedback on your product, the better. And yeah, I think last week I showed this split we have on the website. When someone wants to join the waitlist, they can either book a call and onboard directly or join the waitlist. And that route is how we get our first conversations and then how we can get those users. And so yeah, we usually hop on a call with these people. It's a 25-minute call. The first 5 minutes, I get to know the user a little bit. I ask some questions on why they were interested in Kai, like what spiked their interest, who they are, like what's their job, where are their pains, is it in emails, meetings, and so on. So really a bit of discovery, but I don't go into much depth. Like I really want to get an overall picture. And then the focus shifts to them. I give them access to the product and I tell them that I'll be in the background, I'll be watching, and they have to onboard on the product, create their account, and start setting up Kai. And so I sit silently in the background and I watch them do. Of course, if they're stuck, like they can shoot me a message, or I mean, I'm there in the call, so if they're stuck, they can just ask a question. But the goal is really for them to do that autonomously. and I'm just there taking notes like, okay, they were confused or they clicked this button and it didn't work and so on. So this is how I get feedback on the product to test the user experience. And then the last 10 minutes of the call is really just Q&A. I ask them about their experience, like their emotions, how they felt. And yeah, we already run a couple of calls now. I have 6 more today, and then next week is going to be even busier with onboarding some users. But it's super interesting. Yeah, to see why people join the waitlist and the words they use to express how they felt and their pain, those are very useful for marketing material. And then seeing how they interact with the product and so on, I literally I send a recording, I send it to the dev team, and I'm like bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, fix this. They put it into Claude, shove it, new release, it's fixed in the hour. Like this is our loop. And so yeah, those are the reasons why we run these onboarding calls and how we want to get feedback from users. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I agree. Definitely, the feedback is so important. Even when I'm building those free tools, the feedback from people can help a lot on the final MVP. So yeah, looking forward to see what people said. And I love the thing that you talk at the end. You told like we have this own process that the product is improving. Like we use Sky to transcribe the meetings, the onboarding meetings with users, and then we use the KMCP to send directly to our product roadmap and have the whole context about the painful moment on the product, and then we can use at the end Claude and the devs skills for sure to help on those friction. That's very, very interesting. And yeah, I mean, we will have, so we are launching the product probably in 5 weeks now, if I'm good, 5, 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it depends, but we don't have billing in place at the moment, so the product is free, which is yeah, not great if we want to test monetization. And so I think we're planning to launch end of June, around the 24th of June. But yeah, right now we started onboarding the first few users, and yeah, we'll do our best to keep growing the waitlist. I think we uncovered a few things that worked. I mean, we had more signups in the past 24 hours than in the past 6 days because we did two things yesterday. So Lambert launched on Product Hunt his Chrome extension. It brought, I don't know, hundreds of people to the website. Many of them converted to the waitlist. And then there's something else I run in parallel, which is like email sequence to past users of our other product, which are also people who care about productivity. And so I run like an ABCD test, trying different hooks, trying different angles on how to pitch Kai. And those also brought quite a lot of traffic to the waitlist. And so now that we have this kind of two proven paths of growing the waitlist, I think we'll do a lot more of them in the next 4 to 5 weeks and up until the launch. And so yeah, we'll try and double the waitlist volume by then, by the time we launch. And yeah, and then we'll have everything in place, and we'll try to keep that feedback loop very much in place, but with a broader set of users.
Yeah, I got it. Nice. And yeah, we'll see in the couple of next weeks how it's work. I think that's it for this episode. Also, good thing that maybe we will have a new person in the growth team that will lead the content. So we will keep people know about that. Probably in the next episode, we will more talk about the content and the importance for us, and also something that we talked about earlier this year. Now we have a lot of time to make content. Like before, we was focused on boring task, and now we have time to make content. So this is a very good thing. And yeah, maybe it's gonna be a topic for the next episodes. But yet, I will say we can. I mean, maybe you have anything else that you want to talk about.
No, 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 it's good. I think we should drop some of the skills that we mentioned on the sprint in the description. So let's do that. As Lambert said, we started hiring someone for a role of content. So if that's you, shoot us an email. We'll also drop the link to the job desk. And yeah, so this was good. We talked about how we run our sprint system and what we did this week to grow the waitlist and get feedback from users. So yeah, that's a good amount of things covered. And I think we can close it here. Yeah.
Perfect. Then, guys, see you next week. And yeah, you can also check the article that will be linked with this episode. We will deep dive a bit more. You will have some screenshot and some ID on the work that we made here at Kai. Then see you next week